What is going on, guys? Predator458 here, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to World of Warships, where today, once again, we are in the Tier 6 Soviet cruiser, the Budyonny. I must say, I've really been enjoying this ship, and I'm actually not too far away from having enough experience to unlock the Tier 7 Shores, or however you pronounce that name, but I'm quite looking forward to that. Anyways, first target, Isakazi, 11 kilometers, putting some shots down range, and currently moving towards the A cap, when suddenly a wild allied Svetlana appears, because he's now turned hard to starboard to try and launch his 3-kilometer torps at nothing. So yeah, a little bit of contact there, and now the Isakazi is in front of us. We've got armor piercing loaded, which is not ideal because now we want to be shooting at a little destroyer at Kriegsmarine 789, so we're going to switch over. No, we're actually going to just keep the armor piercing, and there is another warning for friendly damage, and this Kuma just, I mean, unfortunately, what you've just kind of seen is going to set the tone for the competence of my team in this battle. Now, I could have been paying more attention to that Svetlana, but he really shouldn't have turned like that, especially with torps of, with such a short range. But anyway, we've got a smoke screen in the A cap zone, so we know there is an enemy destroyer. Now, this battle was actually really interesting, because if you look at the team panels, there are no battleships, not a single one. Each of us have a tier 5 aircraft carrier, a Bogue, I believe it is, then 2 or 3 destroyers, 2 I think, and the rest are all cruisers, so this was really interesting. First shots on the Gnevny here. Unfortunately, we saw he was moving forward, so we gave him the lead for that, but he immediately started slowing down, and the first salvo missed, second salvo was on point, and now he's trying to slow down again, but no real difficulty here in just putting shots in him. Taking out his engine and his torpedo tubes. Here comes some torpedoes from him, but no problem to miss those, and we get our first kill of the match. Now things are going fairly okay for our team right now. We have a points lead. We've destroyed 2 of their destroyers. They've managed to sink one of our cruisers, and things are going to get better, but then they're going to get a whole lot worse. So switching over to armor piercing as we start putting some rounds downrange towards this Karlsruhe, who very sneakily slows down and makes our salvo land in front of him. Let's see how do these ones do. These are looking better. A little bit too high, so no juicy citadels. We were really, because there were so many cruisers, a little bit of lag there. That was supposed to all fire at once, but because there were so many cruisers, I was really greedy this match. I really wanted those citadels. So more shots going in, as well as some torpedoes. He's had to turn away, so our shots miss. But now it kind of looks like he's pointing towards the island, so he doesn't really have anywhere to go. More shots going in, and there we go. First citadel, 4,700 damage. He's down to less than 1,000 hit points. Got a Cleveland here, and there we go, second kill. Now Clevelands, oh, they're still the bane of my existence. I still hate facing them, because while the Budyonny I do think has better guns, because you have a faster shell velocity, so if you fight Clevelands at long range, you should have an easier job hitting them than they will have hitting you. But he does have more guns. I do believe they reload slightly quicker, but it's not a huge deal. More health, and then better armor. The Budyonny is not terribly difficult to citadel. Cleveland, as we all know, is almost impossible. Even in a big-ass battleship, you can sometimes really struggle to land those nice, juicy citadel hits on the fricking Clevelands. But anyways, again, still in the lead with ships. We've lost 2 cruisers to their 2 cruisers, but we've only lost 1 destroyer to their 2. So we got a slim point advantage, but we are capping B. So, I mean, things are looking pretty good right now. Got a Svetlana at 16. I'm going to take the lead and fire some high explosive. And now switch over to the Cleveland, who is about 3 kilometers closer. And we're going to see if maybe we can get him on fire. I'm going to fire off the front 2 guns while we wait for the rear turret to swing around. Thankfully, it doesn't take too long. About 20 seconds or so. It's not destroyer fast, but it's not bad at all. Get him on fire, 2,000 damage, and fire a full broadside. I do believe he immediately puts the fire out. But thankfully, I think our next salvo, there we go, sets him on fire again. And cruisers, with their damage control team, they have a very short immunity period. Battleships is something like 10 seconds, maybe even a bit more. Cruisers, it's not that long. So unfortunately, by the time he had put out the first fire, by the time the second shells arrived on target, His immunity period was done, so we set him on fire again, and he's not going to burn for a little while. Firing off some shells at the Bogue, some armor piercing. Can we get a Citadel on him? Got a Cleveland at 10.5 kilometers, not the range you want to be fighting in Cleveland in a Budyonny. And indeed we do. Citadel on the Bogue, 4,700 damage. But this was, you know, maybe we could have gotten a Citadel, but we didn't give him quite enough lead. And they sort of landed towards the rear portion of the ship. These are looking a bit better, but again, still a little bit too far towards the rear. And I believe he is now going to start turning and getting an angle on his armor. So we're not going to really get anything with that salvo. Svetlana at 9 kilometers, and to take the lead, fire a salvo. He is moving towards us slightly, so I aim below his waterline. Unfortunately, most of them land too far below his waterline, and only a few strike the hull of his ship, and they're a little bit too high up. But anyways, Kuma, not something I've faced in quite some time. I haven't really played against tier 4 ships in a while. A little bit too high again, nothing special on that salvo. Next salvo out, how does it do? 1 Citadel, so not bad. We're up to 3 already. Svetlana coming in. Again, we aim a little bit too low, but actually no, we got, I think, a Citadel or 2 there, so that's not too bad. Pretty good damage. We're up to 50,000 damage already, pretty much, and we take some moderate damage, presumably that's from a Cleveland. Shooting down a plane. Kuma is turning, we're sort of got some allies in front of us. And we managed to land another Citadel through the front. And ready to fire again. Another full salvo on the way. We just need 1 Citadel. And indeed we get it. So that's 6 Citadels. And we're not done yet. But you can see, I think, yeah, our teams are now fairly even. 5 deaths on each team. Shots out on the Königsberg at 14 kilometers. We're attracting a fair bit of attention, which is a bit unfortunate. Cleveland again, broadside, 7 kilometers, we give him a lead, fire a salvo. Königsberg's now firing at someone else. I don't think he can, his guns have the arc to hit me. Svetlana about to come around the corner, 2,000 hit points. We just need a few good hits. Of course we're going to get them, and of course it's a Citadel. And there's the Kamikaze R, but I don't think we're going to get a good chance to shoot at him. So we go for the Cleveland again. And now I want to push into C, capture that, and try and put pressure on this Königsberg. He's firing on us. But now we're down on ships, and we're 31 points behind the enemy team. So unfortunately, things kind of have started to go badly. He's busy turning, so we're trying to predict where he's going to be when he comes out of that turn. Hopefully he'll be nice and flat onto us. He is. Unfortunately, we don't get the dispersion we're looking for. And no Citadel, and now a Cleveland appears at 14 kilometers. We're not really paying too much attention, and those land a little bit short. A little bit difficult to aim at a ship like this when you can't quite see what you're aiming at. But we managed to get a hit and Confederate in 9 minutes. That's not too bad. Cleveland, 12, so we're going to fire armor piercing at him, slowing down, turning away, trying to throw his shots off because they do have quite a long hang time in the air. Couple of hits, 3,000 damage, and unfortunately the Königsberg is still able to arc his shells over the island, and I don't even have visual on him. Only 1 hit on the Cleveland, but we're dodging his shells quite nicely. And now here I probably should have switched over to high explosive a bit earlier than I did. I kind of stuck with armor piercing just to see how it would work, and as you can see, it's not working out terribly well. So we're now switching over to high explosive, and we're beginning to turn to port. Königsberg is still putting shells in our general direction, but he's not hitting us too much, and he hasn't done any serious damage. And Cleveland also not getting too many hits on target, and you know, again, not too serious damage, but they are slowly chipping away at my health. I'm down to just under 19,000 now. Cleveland has switched targets. We get 3 high explosive hits, do 1,800 damage. We're just waiting for the front guns to turn around. Managed to bounce all of those Königsberg shells, and that little salvo from the rear turret splices. Clearly they are drinking vodka a little bit early in the rear turret. But anyways, a couple of hits, only 300 damage, take out a gun, one of his anti-aircraft guns. Now we got a full salvo on the way for 1,400 damage, and we set him on fire, so we're going to fire again. Is he going to put the fire out? He does. And we set him on fire again immediately. Now here I probably should have fired a little bit higher. I'm so used to firing at water lines that even when I switch over to high explosive I sometimes forget. But we are switching over to armor piercing, and the Königsberg has now appeared. Now we are well within range where the Cleveland can do some serious damage, which is exactly what he does. Fire on the Königsberg, 4,000 damage, 1 Citadel, ready to fire again. How did these do? He's got 13,000 hit points remaining, they're looking good. 4 Citadels, high caliber, devastating strike, and Cracker unleashed. Now the Cleveland, is running away because he is on fire, but we are down to 12,000 hit points, and we're trying to dodge his shells. Again, armor piercing. Should have switched over to high explosive earlier, but I didn't. And you can see we're sort of back in the points lead a bit by 20 points, but there's only 3 ships remaining on our team, 2 cruisers and our carrier, versus their 3 cruisers, destroyer and their carrier, and they are capping B. So I was now getting ready to have to really put my carry pants on, which I kind of already have had on, apart from the poor choice in ammunition types at times. Now they're capping B, so I can only assume their destroyer is there, because the A is being capped by the other Cleveland that you can see in front of me. Our Königsberg is very nearly dead. Here comes some planes. The carrier has largely left me alone at the moment, which is nice. We switched over to high explosive again, and we're going to take a lead and fire at the Cleveland, see if we can disrupt the cap and defend it. He is slowing down, but we're going to start turning. These shots look like they'll be on target. And indeed they are. We defend the cap, but now he's pretty much come to a stop. Someone hit me there. I don't know what the hell it was. And he's backing up now. So we're just going to aim behind him. Unfortunately, our carrier hasn't moved, has been spotted. And, I mean, this range to a Cleveland, we can all guess what's going to happen. Now, I'm thinking, I don't know where that destroyer is. I'm still spotted. It could be the destroyer who's spotting me. So I better start turning. And there we go. Our carrier's down. It's me alone. And we set the Cleveland on fire again. 270 odd points behind the enemy team. But I've started turning because I don't know where that destroyer is. And oh shit. Not what I need. But thankfully, they run out 100 meters before my ship. So we're firing on this Cleveland who's on very low health. Unfortunately, this is going to be a bit of an issue, I think. And there's the destroyer. Because I don't think my aim was quite on point with that Cleveland. We've got 2 of them. They're on very low health. And now disaster is going to strike again. So many targets to pay attention to. Kind of a bit of a brain overload. I do not notice the enemy dive bombers coming in. I could have triggered my defensive AA. They do some pretty decent alpha damage, plus set me on fire. I'm down to 3,500 hit points. I've got 2 Clevelands at 12 kilometers. Kind of decent range for them. I can still dodge a lot of their shells, but there's a lot of guns firing at me. Managed to get some good hits on Semper 575 here. He's down to 98 hit points. He puts his fire out immediately, which is a bit unfortunate because I really could have done with being able to immediately switch over to another target. Enemy team is on 916 points. They have all 3 cap zones, and I'm now on such low hit points that I can't really... There we go, we get the kill. 6th kill of the match. I can't really be aggressive. If it hadn't been for those dive bombers, I would have still been at... I mean, what was I on? 8 to 12,000 hit points? And I could have taken the fight to these guys and maybe saved it, but I'm down to 2,600. Yeah, the enemy Clevelands don't need that much to put me out of my misery. And unfortunately, this salvo, not nearly enough lead. I don't know what I was thinking, because that could have, if it had been on target, it could have been a whole different story. Bounce a lot of the Cleveland shells. He's firing, I think that was armor piercing. He's still firing armor piercing. Get some hits, but nothing too serious. We're doing well with our armor. Some good hits on the destroyer, 1,800 damage. Just waiting for him to turn, firing again. Unfortunately, they're on 987, 995, and yeah, that's it. Game over. What can you do? Tried my little heart out, and apart from a few minor mistakes when it comes to ammo selection, pretty good game on my part, if I do say so myself, and I hope you guys enjoyed. But anyways, let's head over to the results and have a look how we did. 633,800 credits on a defeat, 3,600 experience, devastating strike, high caliber Confederate, and Kraken Unleashed, I think all the medals. 113,000 damage, let's call it. 151 target hits, 1 plane shot down, 6 incapacitations, 6 hits, 8 fires, 13 citadels. Defended a base 9 times and assisted in capture once. On to the team score. First place on the team with 1,600 base experience, nearly 1,000 points ahead of the Minikazi in second place. Cleveland Semperfi on the enemy team came top with 2,053. Cleveland in second with 1,790. So, I mean, overall, we came third in experience, and not too bad. 112,700 damage, as I said, of which 25,300 was from high explosive, 73,000 was from armor piercing, and a further 14,000 from fires. We did 22,000 damage to the Königsberg, 14,700 to the Kuma, 10.5 to the Karlsruhe, 8,000 to the Svetlana, 7,800 to Cleveland. Yeah. Of the damage we took, 10,200 from high explosive, 15,000 from armor piercing, 2,700 from bombs, and 600 from fire. So maybe those bombers didn't do quite as much as I thought. But anyways, we tried, but unfortunately there were just too many enemies remaining at the end, and we didn't have the health to go and deal with them. But that about covers it for this video. If you enjoyed, please feel free to hit the thumbs up button down below, and consider subscribing for more World of Warships, Armored Warfare, and a few other things that I throw into the mix from time to time. But that's it from me. Thank you very much for stopping by. This is Predator 458 signing off, and I will see you guys next time.